you find yourself lost in Irvingland. The crew is still trying to set up that radar relay system they've been working on for half the season now. At the moment, Don and Judy are almost done setting part of it up and are in the process of testing it, while not too far away, Dr. Smith is teaching Will about shooting skeet with a wrist rocket since they don't have a shotgun. Where'd they get the wrist rocket? Well, you see... Moving on.
Power on.
Hey, it's working great.
Oh.
Hold.
I don't think you hit the skeet. If I were you, I'd keep my mouth shut.
What a pity I was not here to supervise the job. I might have prevented the accident.
Dr. Smith, I know it wasn't intentional, but you caused the accident.
What? Really, William? You yourself can testify to the fact that I was not even in the area.
No, but the rock you shot was.
What rock?
Well, Dr. Smith was teaching me how to shoot skeet.
As I said, if I were he, I would have kept my mouth shut. But that phrase isn't in his vocabulary.
Smith, starting now, I want you to stack and tag every single damaged part. And don't you stop until you finish the job. Now, do you understand that?
Major, let me remind you that I am far more proficient at skilled rather than unskilled labor.
Like skeet shooting, Dr. Smith?
Judy doesn't get the good line very often, but when she does, it's a zinger. Here's what I wonder. Was that line originally written for Dawn, and Marta Kristen pointed out that she could deliver it just as well, maybe better? And I know Mark Goddard couldn't have done that expression. He's way too male. In typical fashion, Will gets to work while Smith talks.
We'll put the antenna together first. I'll be able to get this free if you'll just move that rock. I don't think it's very heavy.
My delicate back will simply not stand the strain. William, I have a splendid idea. It will get much lighter if I employ the principle of leverage.
The rock is about the size of the average stock pot in the average kitchen. Now, we all know if it was a stock pot full of one of Maureen's concoctions, he'd throw everybody else across the room to lift it and take it to his room. But since it's a rock and moving rocks is defined as work, well...
What can I use to demonstrate? Here we are. Now watch carefully. By bringing pressure to bear on this lever, the boulder will rise in direct ratio to the pressure I exert, thereby freeing the desired object.
That's the wrong rock, Dodo.
Well, why are you making such a big deal over such a little rock?
Spare me the rhetoric, William. I will prove to you that it does work.
I already told you why. Rock rhymes with work. Sort of. And by the way, Smith, Will is over 6 years old. He's learned about levers and leverage and levitation and all those things.
Now then, are we ready? Here we go. Heave!
I told you it was the wrong rock. There's something alive in that block. It looks and feels like regular water ice, but it's made of something the robot can't analyze. He knows what it's for, though. The critter inside is in suspended animation. It's a cryotube without the tube. Nobody, including Dawn, has any idea what to do with it. They need that radar relay at this site, but they can't restore it with this thing in the way. John and Maureen are off at another site building a similar setup, so Dawn will sleep on it and decide what to do in the morning. We'll suggest that maybe they should put a watch on this thing. Watch for what is anybody's guess, but they should probably do it anyway.
Smith, you and the robot take the first watch.
Major, due to an unusual metabolic malfunction, I must tell you that I would be far more alert on the last watch than I would be on the first.
Fine. You and the robot take the first and last watch.
Put some super glue on the robot's power pack first. We get to see some moments between Don and Judy by the fire, then Don checks in with John and tells him what they found.
Well, nothing. It's in a completely dormant state. I'm going to have Smith stand guard over it tonight.
Well, do you think that's wise?
Whatever it is, it's frozen solid. Even Smith couldn't goof this one.
Don, haven't you realized yet that there is no limit to Zachary Smith's goof-uppiness ability? At least Judy said Will is sound asleep.
I want to go home.
Just look at how asleep he is. I'm letting this run in its entirety because it's just delightful. I'm not too worried about copyright stuff because the song itself is public domain. It first appeared in print in 1916, and it's actually an island song that originated around the Nassau area in the Bahamas. When people think copyright, they're thinking of the Beach Boys' arrangement of it, which these two aren't doing. They're doing it more like the original. So let's listen in.
So hoist up the John B. sails, see how the mainsail sets. Call for the captain ashore, let me go home. Let me go home. Let me go home. Well, I feel so break up, I want to go home. First mate, he got drunk, broke up the people's trunk. Constable had to come and take him away. Sheriff Johnstone, why don't you leave me alone? This is the worst trip since I have been born. So hoist up the John B. sails, see how the mainsail sets. Call for the captain ashore, let me go home. Let me go home, I want to go home. Oh, let me go home. Why don't you leave me alone? Well, I feel so break up, I want to go home. Hey, that's fun.
You did it.
And by the way, according to all sources, that was a live performance, not playback and lip syncing. I could tell right away that Will was really playing the guitar, which is something we've seen him do before. The reality is, on top of everything else he's done, Bill Mumy is an accomplished musician with a long list of credits. As we can see, that list goes way back.
I think it said something. What was it?
You are listening to the wind, Dr. Smith. I am not programmed to interpret the language of the wind, only the language of windbags.
Smith is being his usual crybaby self. My feet are cold, my hands are cold, my hair is wavy, my nose is shiny. He has his mind made up that the electric blanket he's got wrapped around himself isn't working.
Oh, dear. This blanket is definitely not operating properly. It's no good. It's no good at all. I shall freeze to death unless I have something hot to drink.
Fine, go get something, but don't leave that electric blanket on the ice block.
Personnel on guard duty are not permitted to leave their post without explaining.
There. That will teach you, you tin-plated tattletale.
You forgot the super glue, Don. Not only will he slip over to the fire for a cup of coffee, but he'll do a typical Smith.
What a lovely, restful place this is. I think I'll lie down here. But just for a moment. After all, there is work to be done.
Work to be... You mispronounced avoided. The fact that there's work waiting for him pretty well guarantees that he'll stay there all night. Meanwhile, our frozen guest is being watched over by a disabled robot and a thermal blanket. Yipe! Somebody get her a hairbrush before she pokes an eye out. She explores the camp where everyone is sleeping, but her movements make enough noise to wake Dawn.
Don, what is it?
I don't know. I'm gonna find out.
Smith, get up! I'm innocent!
What are you doing out here?
Oh,
Get up on your feet.
Of course, it was only momentarily, at least according to his definition. Dawn is off to check on their frozen visitor.
Dr. Smith, what's going on?
William, I'm afraid I'm guilty of deserting my post. But temporarily, of course, and quite unintentionally.
You know the worst part? He actually expects people to buy that pathetic nonsense. Thing is, if he spreads it to enough people, somebody will. Not on that planet, but somewhere.
It's gone. The whole ice block is melted.
Whatever was in that sarcophagus obviously was smart enough to deactivate the robot.
Major, I have no idea how it happened, but I seem to have the robot's power pack.
Are you sure you don't know how that happened, Smith?
Quite sure. But I do seem to recall that he was extremely rude to me.
Ever notice that there are people in this world who will evaluate your worth as a human being based on whether or not you like them? I can't say for sure that Zachary Smith invented that idea, but he definitely elevated it to an art form. So let me see if I have our scientific evaluation correct. This thing stole the electric blanket, thawed itself out with it, then yanked the robot's power pack, put Smith to sleep by the fire, and stuck the power pack into his pocket to frame him. Have I covered just about everything?
Dr. Smith called me a tin-plated tattletale.
You traitor!
I was about to warn him that it was dangerous to place a thermal blanket in close contact with a frozen block of fluid.
I see. Well, there's one bit of scientific information we can thank you for, Doctor. The fluid melts at thermal blanket temperature.
Right, I forgot the most crucial element. It's not science until you write it down. And by the way, whatever was in that block is on the move now.
That's what weakened me. I heard something moving past the tent. Let's see where they lead.
Based on what you just said, I'm going to guess they lead back to your camp. And I'm right as usual. The robot reports that whatever the creature is, it's still in the area. So naturally, this is the perfect time to demand that the youngest and most scientifically curious of our bunch go to bed. Seriously, if you were 12 and in this situation, what kind of idiot would expect you to sleep? While they're arguing about that, Smith appears.
Major, if I don't put on a pair of dry socks immediately, I shall have chilblains by morning.
He says that as if he expects Don to care. Smith already screwed this pooch. The best thing he can do is sit in his tent and shut up. Found her. Don manages to de-escalate things and try to talk, but the robot says she comes from a frozen world. Her vocal cords don't function in this temperature. It won't occur to anybody, including the robot, to maybe try writing or drawing pictures or trying to create some kind of sign language. No, if we can't talk, this bunch of scientific geniuses has no idea what to do.
This is the terrible creature that Smith expected to find in the sarcophagus.
She's beautiful.
Do you know who she is or where she's from?
From a cold and distant planet, that's all we know, but we'll learn more once we gain her confidence.
I'll pour some coffee.
If she's from a frozen planet, I doubt she'll appreciate coffee, but while we're trying to figure out what else to do, we'll just stand around and talk about her as though she isn't here. No, it's okay. They use those hot meteors to start the campfire. That's not a meteor, it's a ship of some kind, and she's terrified of whatever is in it. While Don and Judy are assuring her that she's safe with them, Will is more interested in the mystery object.
That's pretty close. Maybe you and I should go investigate, Dr. Smith.
Certainly not, William. I'm still officially on guard duty, you know. I wouldn't dream of abandoning my post.
You already did, remember? And as a result, there's nothing left to guard, remember? Will wants to go investigate, but even he isn't that reckless. He'll have the robot do it.
Hey, Toro, ¿qué estás haciendo aquí? ¿Qué es lo que tú buscas? Hey, what you do here, huh?
I am a robot. I am here on an investigative mission.
Brace yourselves, it's stereotype time. Not that this kind of stereotype was unusual. The image of the basic Mexican frontier type with the hat and the bullet belts across the chest and the accent and all the rest had been a staple of television for decades. To name just one, the Cisco Kid had been around since 1950, and even though the series ended in 1956, it was constantly in reruns on one channel or another. The same year this episode aired, another such character appeared, possibly the best known of all of them, the Frito Bandito. He went through several incarnations until the company finally retired him in 1971. Thing is, in the overall scheme of things, this wasn't a racist move. It was a move of admiration. The country had fallen in love with Mexican heroes such as Cisco, Zorro, and yes, Speedy Gonzales, because they were always helping someone else. In fact, these characters tended to put a lot of Anglos to shame with their selfless actions, and that was one reason we white folks, especially us white kids, admired them so much. They most often fought Mexican villains, which showed us that good and evil aren't unique to the United States. And it was that image of the villain who wants to do something naughty while our brave heroes resist him to the very end that led to things like our friend Chavo here. He's not so much a stereotype as a caricature. He talks with a characteristic accent, he has the hat and the ammo belts and all the rest, and he's bright silver. And best of all, you heard correctly, he thinks the robot is a toro for him to play matador with.
Vete, Torito. Ven, Torito. Ven, Toro.
That does not compute.
Hey, maybe I teach you, huh? Did you like that?
Negative. My investigation is now complete. I am leaving.
Your investigation isn't complete. You still don't know what he was trying to do with that tablecloth. You also don't know why he's here or what he wants. But Chavo says, you can't leave yet. It would be very rude to go without having a drink with me first. The robot tries to explain that he doesn't have anywhere to put beverages, alcoholic or otherwise, but Chavo's creative. He'll figure something out.
Vamos, here, mira. Did you like, yes? Huh? Hey, take some more.
Chavo, you realize that's the equivalent of pouring it into his belly button. This is going to teach us something very important about our robot that we didn't know before.
Good heavens.
Robot, what's happened to you? What took you so long? Did you find anything out?
Ay, 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 ay. Oh, lindo.
We learned that he can't hold his tequila, but it's worse. Once he sobers up, he realizes he told Chavo about the Ice Princess. But that's about all he remembers.
Robot, one of your reserve computers is gone. Did Chavo take it?
Quien sabe? I am sorry, Will Robinson. I am afraid I goofed.
Well, at least tequila doesn't make his shell fall off. Will is determined to go ask Chavo to give it back.
Splendid idea, William. Why don't you go over there and have a nice little chat with him while I stay here and nurse our poor, dear, sick friend. He needs constant attention.
Dr. Smith, why do you always have an alibi when something important has to be done?
Why do you always let him get away with it?
It's pretty good soldados, muchacho, no?
His little band of soldados are nothing but hats and rifles propped up on sticks, but none of our crew will ever realize that.
If you're the one who took our robot's computer, well, I'd like it back, please.
Ole, muchacho. You have mucho valor. You're not afraid of Chavo and his army?
Sure, I'm afraid. But I don't see why you'd want to hurt me. I don't even know what you're doing here.
And now it's time for Nancy Drew in the case of the missing MacGuffin. The stolen computer was the excuse to get Will here. Will is here, so the computer is never mentioned again. Instead, we'll hear a nice little tale.
There was once upon a time una hermosa muchacha de hielo.
You mean the Ice Princess, I guess.
Sí, Ice Princess. Ice Princess is very much loved by madre and padre.
Chavo claims she was spirited away from her parents to protect her until time for her to become queen, and now he's helping them search for her so they can be reunited with their little girl. I'm not sure anybody sober believes him.
You want to hold her for ransom, don't you?
So much talk from one so young.
Well, I don't think you're going to get away with it.
Is that your opinion?
And Don's. I'm going to go tell him what you're doing here.
You want Chavo to turn loose his soldados, muchacho?
Don's not afraid of your old soldados either.
Oh, hey, muchacho!
By the way, muchacho, you're now his rehén.
Ah, good morning, my dear. I was just telling the Major that William is taking a short constitutional.
That's unusual. And how's our visitor this morning? Don?
Why are you afraid? There's nothing to be afraid of.
I have a feeling she can tell Chavo is coming.
Sitwood's gone. You make visitors welcome.
Who are you and what do you want?
My name is Chavo.
Good heavens. Chavo. It's the villain himself.
What villain? Do you know him?
Not personally, Major. Just by hearsay. I do believe I shall join William for his constitutional. Smith!
Chavo sets out his offer very simply: Will for the princess, even trade. Bring her to his camp tonight because that's when Will's time runs out.
Major! Major! Oh, William and I had a lovely constitutional.
Is that so, Smith?
Yes, Major, lovely.
Dr. Smith, Chavo's got Will.
You know, I'm afraid I'm partly to blame for that.
Partly. They can't believe he let Will go off alone. He reiterates his lame excuse about the robot, and they won't even justify it with an answer.
Judy, you get a gun and keep watching the girl. Smith and I are going after Will.
Major, I'm afraid my bunions might prove a serious impediment.
If they do, you can get on your hands and knees and crawl. Come on.
And if you have bunions on your hands, you can pretend you're a warthog and crawl on your elbows.
Major, I'm completely exhausted. Perhaps you'd better go on without me. I can only be a hindrance to you.
Not this time, Smith. You're gonna be a decoy.
But decoys are usually shot at, aren't they?
I'm glad you understand. They spot the soldados and take cover to evaluate the situation.
Eat, muchacho, eat. Eat to build up your strength.
I'm not very hungry.
How are you going to be big and strong like Chavo if you don't eat?
That monster! He's overfeeding him and trying to convince him to grow a rat's nest under his nose.
Hey, where you going?
Well, I figured your soldiers would be hungry. I was going to give it to them.
Huh? I give. Hey, soldados, you want food? They ate already.
I hear they work cheap, too.
For good muchachos, I have candy.
Come on.
Now he's trying to destroy Will's teeth. How evil can one humanoid get? Appropriately enough, that thing was called an astropop. The three colors was supposed to evoke the image of a three-stage rocket, a new lollipop for the space age. Hey, when you're wandering around all over unknown space, you take your product placement opportunities where you can get them. Don says we'll come back after dark.
We've got until midnight to talk to that girl and find out how much of what Chavo told us is true.
If she'll talk to us.
Now, let's find out.
She's gone.
What?
Smith is talking with the robot, lamenting Will's imminent demise.
And who, may I ask, is responsible for letting Will Robinson go in the first place?
Surely you didn't expect me to go. I was busy playing nursemaid to you.
A likely story. You should be ashamed of yourself, Dr. Smith, sending a boy to do a man's job. Are you not ashamed?
You haven't figured out yet that he has no shame?
Indeed, I am not. I did what I had to do.
You are a coward, Dr. Smith.
A coward? I? I'll have you know I'm famous for my bravery.
Then it is up to you to rescue Will Robinson.
Well, crap. Been nice knowing you, Will.
It is? How?
By acting as a decoy. I have a complete plan.
Okay, the robot will do the actual rescuing. Just like in Don's plan, Smith is bait. I quit asking a long time ago.
Wow. Indeed. This is the final ignominy. A man of my quality reduced to this deceit.
Deceit is your hobby, Doctor. We know your real problem is the fact that nobody ever whistled at you like that.
Hello there.
Hey, muchacho, she's here.
Hello there.
Come, princesita, show yourself.
There you go, Doctor. Use that voice more and maybe somebody will whistle at you. He says, I'll come out when you let the boy go. He tosses a hair thingy to Chavo as a token.
Go, muchacho, go. You're free. Tell your friends hasta la vista.
I don't understand. Don would never...
Ah, your mayor is a wise man. He knows when it's licked. Go now, go.
Will isn't thinking too clearly or he'd remember that the princess can't talk. The plan is for the robot to zap Chavo when he comes close enough, but for some reason the zapping batteries are depleted even though he assured Smith they were fully charged. He'll have to recharge them before he can do anything. Meanwhile, Chavo is discovering the deception.
Vente, princesa. Vente. Vente, princesita. Ay, pero mira que... You're not a young princesa. You're a waxwork dummy. Hmm?
I'm not a dummy. A dummy.
While he has some fun with Smith, Will is back with Don, and he's angry.
How'd you get away?
Don't you know? You sent the ice princess to him.
Hey, now, wait a minute. Ice Princess? Oh, no. She disappeared this morning.
She did?
Yeah.
But a girl showed up there.
It doesn't take a lot to figure out that the girl was probably Dr. Smith and the robot.
You have plenty tricks, senor, huh? You send an old fool to make monkey of Chavo. Well, that is not permitted. It is an insult. Throw away your gun. We fight with knives.
Well, get back, way back.
Not only would it be pointless to try and explain the situation, Don's been wanting some real action since this whole thing started. Chavo isn't very good at this. In particular, it's not too smart to hold the knife like this. He was doing better before he shifted it because like this, you have about 10 times the mobility that you have this way. We'll get some nice action for a while, but Chavo is gaining the upper hand. Robot to the rescue. Excuse me, Toro to the rescue.
Toro, you die soon. Your moment of truth is very close. Come on, Toro. Toro. Hey, why don't you shout, Ole? Toro. Come to the muleta, Toro. Come.
Viva Toro! I think Chavo just found out where that bull's horns are. In one of the strangest instant reversals I've ever seen, Chavo decides that after that, it's time to go home to his ranch and give up all this ransom hunting business, as well as bullfighting. He's concluded he's too old for this kind of life. It's really sudden and a little random. But he's done, so I guess he'll hop aboard his meteor and be off.
Adiós, señor. Hasta luego, muchacho.
Adios.
Or he can do that, whatever it was. And since the Ice Princess already disappeared, I guess we can all get back to work, yes?
She's gone.
Good riddance.
She has had herself summoned back to her own planet.
And not a moment too soon.
Why didn't she just do that in the first place instead of letting us get into all that trouble with Chavo?
Yeah, why?
Not to mention, why can she talk all of a sudden?
With alien life forms, ours is not to reason why, ours is but to do or become permanently deactivated.
Okay then, how about something a little easier? What language was she speaking? Was it an actual language or something made up? Does anybody know? The actress is Greek. Her name is Kyriaka Tsope, though she goes by Corina. At this time, she was best known as Miss Universe 1964. Thing is, that could be Greek and I wouldn't know it. I know ancient Greek. Modern Greek uses the same alphabet and the similarity pretty well ends there. Different pronunciation, different grammar, different vocabulary, and I've never gotten around to learning the modern version. If you do recognize that language, please let me know in the comments what it is and what she said. Because as we've seen before, the robot's translations are sometimes a little suspect, especially when he's had too much tequila. If you enjoyed this episode, click the like button and let us know. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell so you always know what is happening, because something is always happening here at Irving Zoo. We make sure of it. We control his computer. Until next time.